can't hear me, please let me know. I will move my mic wherever I can. Today we are going to talk about tuning. Tuning the oud. Alright, for now, I want to tell you what we're going to be talking about exactly. So we're going to be talking about oud tunings, types of tunings, tuning with a tuner and how to do it, and without a tuner. And then I'll show you why I don't use a tuner, and how I do it without a tuner. And hopefully you'll be able to tune your oud with a tuner, and also hopefully you'll be able to eventually understand why we shouldn't use a tuner when it comes to ultimately tuning the oud. If you're a beginner, when you get more advanced, or in a few months, trying to tune by ear is the best way to go, and you'll figure out why. Hopefully the importance of that will be instilled after this. If you can't hear me, or if there's any problems, just let me know in the live chat. If you have any questions as we go, just put them in the live chat, get them out, and then we'll go through them if we have time later. Excuse me while I enjoy some coffee. And let me know where you're all viewing from as well. I want to know what country you're in, and yeah. Excuse me while I slurp my coffee. I'll be back in a second. We'll get started. There's just some noise happening in the back. Okay, first things first. Let's go over my ouds tuning. Alright. So here, from the highest string, we have C. Then we have G. Then we have D. Then we have A. Then we have F. Then we have a C. And this is the standard tuning that I use all the time. It's what I call standard Arabic tuning. Now, the bass strings are always variable when it comes to this. The real oud, the basic oud, is always going to be these 4 strings tuned in fourths. So these are 4 notes apart, these are 4 notes apart, and these are 4 notes apart. That's the relationship. And so they're always tuned like that in most cases. And that's the basic tuning of the oud. That's where all the technique comes down to. That's where all the magic happens. Now, the bass strings are all variable. So depends on what you're playing. Depends on the piece you're playing. Depends on the tune, the maqam you're playing. So what I usually use is I usually tune my first bass string to either G or F. For beginners who are tuning the oud, G is the most ideal tuning. In fact, the oud is most in tune with itself when you tune by ear if you use G for the first bass string here. Other players use F. F is also a great one, but it is harder for beginners to get in tune by ear. And we'll go into why that is later on. The last bass string, you can either tune it to D or C. And this one here, it really also depends on what maqam you're playing, what note you need to always reference. But this is what I've been happy with for the most amount of years for the music that I play. Playing Arabic music. Playing Persian music is great too, but playing Persian music, I sometimes prefer to tune my first bass string to G. And mathematically, let's pretend the bass string is gone. Mathematically, the oud is most in tune with itself when you just tune C, G, D, A, G. The oud is the most easy to get into tune by ear. That's where the magic happens. And once you start adding F, you have to temper the tuning a little bit with your ear. You have to do it manually. And what I mean by tempering is that it's not going to be perfectly in tune the way your ears like it. So you have to make a little bit of adjustments. That's why it's a bit harder to tune to the open F. But if you use a tuner, that solves some of the problem for you. But using a tuner does add problems, because the settings that the tuners are used for is for equal temperament, and our ears are not meant to really like equal temperament. Equal temperament intervals, they're all kind of out of tune. They're mathematically synthesized to have an equal distance between all the notes. So there you get a piano or frets on a guitar. They're all mathematically produced to get equal temperament. So we'll show you exactly what it looks like on the tuner. When I show you my screen, I'll show you exactly, I'll tune by ear, and you'll see that the tuner is not showing everything exactly in tune. So then, let me take a sip of coffee. Alright, so first things, I will get my oud out of tune so we can tune it from beginning. I'm just gonna, I don't know how this is gonna sound. It's gonna sound all. Oh, it's all out of tune, okay? Alrighty. Alright, can you see my tuner there? Should be able to. So you'll be able to see. Okay, so using a tuner for beginners, what you got to do is first know what you're looking for. So you get any tuner, download it from the App Store, whatever tuner. Most tuners do the job, but you want one that's going to show you all the notes, and it's not just made for a guitar or whatever like that. You want to find something that's going to be able to use for any instrument. And so you just pluck a string, get ready to tune it. Okay, tuner is saying A3. We want this note to get up to C4. Okay, now let's start on G. I always tune with starting with the G string, second string here. So it's saying E. So we want to get that up to G. G3 exactly. 3 refers to the octave, like how high. G2 is going to be lower G. G4 is going to be a higher G. So you want to get that needle into the center. Maybe some of you know this already. Now, thanks for letting me know my voice is low. I'll turn it up for now. How's that? Okay, so it's getting in tune. The problem with tuning stringed instruments is that when you pluck the string, the wavelength is going to increase and then decrease. So it's going to get faster and then slower. That means it's going to sound sharper in the beginning, and then it's going to flatten out and stabilize. That's just one of the things you'll have to deal with. That's a more advanced thing. So you'll have to bear with that and just kind of do your best. Okay, we got it in tune. Now let's get the other string in tune. So once you get your first string in tune, one of those of the doubles, what you want to do is then tune by ear and get the other string in tune. If you try to tune that G to the tuner, they might not sound exactly the same. So you want to tune, after you get one of them in tune, you want to tune the other one to that sound. We'll talk about tuning, getting the tunes in sound, like getting the sounds in tune in a bit, when we talk about tuning completely by ear. Okay, you can see the needle's in the center more or less, so we'll move on. Now let's tune the top string C. So it needs to be at C4 on the tuner. Okay, that's good. Okay, so I got these two strings in tune. They're in tune with the tuner. So now I'm going to tune the D string. Now I'm going to tune the D string according to what I hear the G string as. So I'm using the G string as a reference to tune D. Now I know that they're 4 notes apart. I know that they've got to sound harmonious. That means the frequencies are going to be gelling together. They're going to sound harmonious. Your ear likes harmonious. So it sounds good when they're harmonious. That sounds really good to me. But look at the tuner. Tuner's saying that, oh, it's got on C. So I had it too low. I had it on C at beginning. It sounded good, but it was the wrong note. Okay, because they're a major fifth interval, and major fifth intervals C to G sound really good. They sound really harmonious. But we want to get to D, so fourth interval sounds really good too. Okay, that sounds really good by ear. But look at the tuner. Tuner says I'm a little bit flat. Well, the tuner lies. It's equal temperament, and that's why my ear wants to hear it a certain way, but the tuner says it's a bit flat. Well, we're gonna just go by ear for now. See, my G is still good, according to the tuner, but the D is a bit flat. So it's a really subtle difference, as you can see. It's really close to the in tune D. It's really, really close. So what I recommend is that when you're a beginner, use the tuner to find all the notes. So we've got C4, then we've got G3, then we've got D3, then we've got A2, then we have F, F2, then we have C2 here. Alright, so I've tuned up the oud more or less. It's probably going to need a bit more tweaking. So what I always do is I always just tune my G to the tuner. I want to tune the rest. If I'm tuning by ear, I want to tune everything in reference to the G. I just find that the easiest way to go. You're gonna have to keep tuning because the strings want to go back to their original stretch. So you're gonna have to keep tuning until it stabilizes. Now what I want to show you is what the values look like on the tuner now that I've tuned in by ear. So we first tuned the G string and the C string by the tuner. So I'm going to keep the C string tuned with the tuner. Let's get that back in tune. It got out of tune again. So we'll go over the notes again. We got C4, G3, D3, A2, F2, and C2. Now I want to show you the difference. It's hard to hear, but my ears are really happy with the way that I've tuned by ear. They're really happy the way this G and D sound together. They sound pretty harmonious. Sounds pretty good. It could be a bit better in tune, but so my G is in tune according to the tuner. But my D is a bit off. So the D is not perfectly in tune with the tuner. Now the next thing you want to do with tuning by ear, after you tune the D string, then you can tune the A string according to where the D is tuned. So the interval between D and A is a fourth. So you want to find that note on the tuner, roughly where it is, and then tune by ear. So it's already there. Now use your ear to fine tune it. So how you do this is you want to find with your ear the sound that sounds good. Now, what's happening with the wavelengths is that when the wavelengths are sounding perfectly harmonious with each other, they gel together. They create a pattern when they interact with each other. When you analyze the frequencies, that's what happens. Now, when you hear notes that are not harmonious together, the frequencies are not jiving. So they're kind of interacting with each other in a little bit off way. They're not perfectly in alignment. So when they are in alignment, then your ear hears that and likes that sound. So you want to find that. Now, the way that you find that is you listen for kind of wonky wave sounds. So I'll down tune one of my strings. You can hear this really weird sound happening, and it kind of sounds wonky. You can still hear that wavelength kind of going wow, 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 wow. But as you get it back more in tune, that little weird sound starts to disappear. Now this is pretty good for me. I'm pretty happy with this. These two notes sound harmonious. Now you got to tune the other A string to match the A that you just got in tune. Can you hear the wonkiness? Wow, 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 wow. So you got to get back. The wonkiness goes away as you get it in tune. Now it sounds perfectly harmonious. So now F is the hardest note to tune, and the reason for that is because it's a major third interval between the A string and the F string. So it's kind of a challenge to tune it. So what I like to do is I want a reference to my G string, and I tune my F. So I try to get it to sound really wonky. It still sounds wonky. I want the G and the F string to sound more or less good together, as harmonious as possible. They're not going to be 100% harmonious, but you do your best. Then tune the other F string. G and F sound like together. They sound okay, but they kind of still need some work. So it's a little flat than what the tuner is saying. So then what I do to check if I've got my F in the right spot, I check one of my C strings. I tune one of my C strings, like the bass C string or the high C string by ear, to the G. G and C have to be harmonious, so it's in tune with G. They sound nice and harmonious together. Now check to see if your C, your bass C string and your bass F string are in tune with each other. If they're harmonious, then you're probably in a good spot. So I'm going to tune the rest by ear. This top C string wasn't in tune with by ear. So, sounds pretty good though. So if you tune by ear, basically what's going to happen is the tuner is not going to reflect exactly how your ear wants to hear the strings in tune and harmonious with each other. So you'll still have to work on it a bit. This is not perfectly in tune. But it's pretty good. So one thing to watch out for is when you tune by ear, the F and the A are going to sound wonky. They're a major third interval apart. So you don't want to use A to tune your F string, your bass F string. Let me take off show the oud here a little bit. They sound okay, but your ear wants them to sound a little bit different. But don't tune your F string with the A, because then your F string is not going to be in tune with your open G, your original reference note, and it may not be in tune with your open C strings. So that's what I mean by you have to kind of temper and change the tuning of F in order to get happy with the tuning. Now if you choose to tune your bass F string to a G, then you solve that problem. There's going to be no tuning problem because you can just tune it easily to this G reference note. I find using G as the reference note is the easiest way to tune my oud. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about holding the pegs. So the way that I hold the pegs, when I tune these guys under here, I hold my thumb on top like this so that I can turn and apply a little bit of pressure on the top to stabilize the oud. It removes pressure from the neck. You want to be careful about that. And then when I tune the pegs on top, I either go like this for my thumb to be under here, or you put it on your leg and you can tune like this, applying pressure here, no pressure on the neck. So that's how I do it. That's how I would recommend practicing tuning. That way you'll get less pegs slipping. And a lot of people ask, why don't oud players use gears up here, like gear heads like a guitar? And the reason for that is weight. The oud becomes super heavy if you do that, and the weight of the oud balancing on your knee and in your arms, it gets really heavy on one side. So that's why they haven't all changed to that. But now there are geared wooden pegs like this. So there's actually gears inside here. They're fitted for your oud. I think they're called Whitner pegs, and they're actually gears. So they tune very smoothly. They're just stuck in here, and then the gears are doing all the work. Those are really nice to have, but I don't recommend getting those for like a cheap oud. You want to get that on a nice oud because they are expensive to get installed, but you can install them. And so the main reason why you use your ear to tune the oud, the main reason is that for sympathetic resonance. This is one of the reasons why the oud sounds so cool, and it's because of the way the frequencies of the notes you're playing are interacting. And that's why the oud is such a resonant instrument, because when we tune the oud by ear, for Middle Eastern maqams and daska and all this stuff, when we tune it by ear, the frequencies are gelling together better than if you tune to the tuner. notes on a piano or a guitar, they don't gel perfectly together because of equal temperament. So the oud sounds really cool when you tune by ear, and it can actually sound louder because the frequencies of the notes are interacting better together. So they kind of amplify and they resonate better. That's all the thing about resonance. Resonance is the vibrations, right? So when the vibrations are interacting in a good way, in alignment with each other, then you get a louder sound. You get a purer sound. So that's why I recommend, eventually, as you practice the oud and you get better, to definitely tune by ear. That's the best way to go. So some other tunings I'd like to talk about before we get to any questions. So this is the standard tuning I use: C, G, D, A, F, C. Other tuning that you can tune the oud to for Arabic tuning is G, bass string to G. So this sounds awesome. Like, you have that nice G note always resonating there. So when you play maqams based on C or D or G, it sounds really awesome. And then you have that open C note. So that's one tuning: C, G, D, A, G, C. Then you can also tune to D. So the bass string is now D. This sounds awesome as well, especially for maqams based on D. Having G and D, it just sounds perfect, beautiful. Another tuning that sounds really awesome, it's really quite powerful, is drop tuning. So we'll do this. We'll drop to the second bass string to E. So this, you can actually use your A string to tune and find the E, because they're 4 notes apart. Use your tuner to find the note, and then use your ear to fine tune it. So this tuning is kind of like guitar. You've got G, D, A, E. Those are just like the bottom strings on a guitar. So that might be interesting for some guitarists. So now the bass string, I want you to tune it to a low A. So you use your A string and then tune the bass string down. So we've got A. This is a great tuning for any maqam, any key of A. Watch how kick-ass this sounds. A, it helps. It's really nice. So sometimes the bass strings are used to tune to different keys used best for different keys. Another tuning you could use is all fourths. This one is not commonly used for Arabic players or Persian players, but it's similar to a Turkish tuning that exists. So you, instead of tuning this guy down to C or D, you tune it to a B, so a fourth from E. So when you have your bass string in E, your notes are going to change up here, right? So you have you've got G here with your third finger. Then you have F. F would be here. This is really awkward. So you've got F here and F here, and then you've got F sharp up here. So it changes the way you're gonna use your fingers on the oud. And then if you tune 1/4 below that, then you've got your bass D here with your third finger, and then you've got C here. It's kind of weird, but players in Turkey use an all fourths tuning. The notes are all tuned in fourths. So we've got C, G, and then D, A, and then E, and then B natural. So it's all in fourths. It might be useful if you're playing with somebody in the key of E, for example, if you're playing a tune in that key, or if you're playing in the key of B. And this tuning is really good for beginners sometimes, because the fingerings are all the same. Like the finger patterns are all the same all throughout the oud. But when you have different tunings, it kind of throws off beginners. But there's a single pattern that you can follow with all the fingerings here. But I don't use this tuning. I don't really find it useful for the music I play. So it really depends on what you're playing on the oud. So let's talk about Turkish tunings. So Turkish tunings are all one step higher. So one whole note higher. So instead of C, we have D at the top. Instead of G, we have A. Instead of D, we have E. Instead of A, we have B. And then instead of F, depending on what tuning they use, usually they'll have F sharp and C sharp at the bottom. That's all fourths. Or they have the traditional tuning where the bass string is tuned to A, just like this string. So you have two A notes here, and then two E notes here. So that would just be like C, or in Arabic terms, that would just be like C, G, D, A, G, D. That's it. Now I'm going to tune back up. Try to answer some questions. Thank you for staying with me through this whole thing, and we'll go through some questions now. Let's see here. My oud picks just fall off and I need to press them too hard. What should I do? Hossein, can you explain what you mean by that? Like your pick falls out of your hand? Oh, or maybe you meant pegs. Yeah, that's a tricky thing. You have to find the balance of the pegs in the peg box. When you're putting the strings on, you need to find the right balance between not too tight and not too loose. If your pegs are in really bad shape, then you need to put some kind of compound that helps the friction keep. And there's different types of peg compound that you could use for wooden pegs. But yeah, you have to find the balance. It takes some years to figure out exactly how much to turn this peg in without it slipping. So that's a big challenge that beginner players have. You just have to figure out what's the best tension. It's different for each oud. It's different because there's different quality pegs. There's different types of wood. So you really have to practice getting the pegs in at the right tension, the right friction. Let's see. The name of the tuner app. This is G Strings. I use an Android phone, so I don't use iPhone. So I don't know if if it's available on iPhone or what, but this is G Strings. I use another tuner as well called Sound Corset Tuner and Metronome. That one's good too. Most tuners do the job. So whatever you get. Okay, so somebody has. I notice that my strings feel light and I get a lot of string to string buzz, especially on the F set. Thinking of buying higher tension strings. Yeah, higher tension strings might solve the problem. Also, some ouds, the way that I'll try to show you here, the way that they sit on the nut could be closer together. Some are spaced more apart, right? So that could be the source of it too. The way that they've cut the grooves in the nut might be for a certain thickness of string. And so, like for example, I put some Aquila strings on this, and one of the courses was too thick. So, like when I would pluck it, they would agitate each other and they would buzz together too much. That was one problem. So knowing what strings are meant to go on the instrument can help, or getting higher tension strings because they will vibrate a little bit less, they will stay more tight, and they will less likely to interact with each other in a bad way, giving a bad buzz sound. So yeah, higher tension strings might do the job to help you with that. I'm noticing that your oud sounds nice and tight tension. Can this be a problem with how my oud was built or how I'm installing the strings? It depends. It could be anything. Depends on how long your oud is and what strings you're using. And I can't remember what oud you use, Rolly Bell, but it depends on how long they are. You may need a higher tension set just to help with the resonance and with the string tension. Okay, I'll go over the string tuning again once more. So main Arabic tuning, we have C, G, D, A, F, C. In solfege, that's Do, Sol, Re, La, Fa, Do. All right. How do I hold my oud? That I'm actually going to be doing another YouTube live about that. So hopefully you can be patient about that. It's coming up in a week or two. Question about Pano Tuner. Is it good? I'm not sure. Most tuners do the job. So you have a question, which strings do you compare to hear if it's in tune? So the way that I go about tuning the oud is I first tune my G string to the tuner, get it in pitch, and make sure it stays stabilized. Then I tune my open C string to G. Then I tune my D string to G. So I get those top three in tune. Then I'll tune my low bass string to G because it's C and they sound harmonious together. I'll get those two in tune. And then for A, I will first use my D string to get the A string in tune, but I'll reference it with G as well, just to see if they're sounding okay. Because once you start tuning strings that are in different octaves, it gets problematic. Then I also tune F to G as well. I try to get F and G as in tune as possible. It's not going to be perfect. And then I always check my F string in relation to my bass C string and my top C string. So if they're in tune after I tune with G, if the F and the C are also in tune, then I'm pretty happy with where I've gotten with tuning. Needs some work but right now because it's a little bit out of tune. Hossein, you're asking if I can play Tavalod on oud. Yes, I can, but I'm not going to do it right now. Happy birthday in Farsi is Tavalod. Okay. Someone asks, I have the Godin oud. My question is, can I use do and tune it fa? And don't use do string set to tune it into fa. That is not a good idea. It's going to be way too high tension. You should buy a string set especially for fa tuning. All right, any other questions? Is it true we should tune to A441 and why? It doesn't matter what you tune to. In the past, ouds were just tuned. I don't know how ouds were actually tuned in the past. That's a good question. Like what note they referenced to tune. I'm not sure at all. But it doesn't really matter. You can tune to whatever note you want. As long as the strings are not too low tension, then you'll be okay. And don't tune your oud too high. Want to change my strings on my oud. I have Gali strings, nylon for oud. Are they okay? I've never heard of Gali strings, but if they're oud strings, they are probably okay. If you have questions about oud strings, a good website is oudstrings.com. All right, that's it for today. I think I've covered everything I wanted to talk about. Thanks for joining me, guys, and we'll see you next week on another live stream. If you need any other oud tips, go to oudforguitarists.com. Link is in the description. We'll put it in there. And one more question. Is there a guide you recommend for which strings go on which peg? Everybody seems to do it differently. There's no guide. Just do what the oud was meant for. If you bought your oud from a luthier, they probably string it the way they want it strung. So another way that Persian oud players, they tune like a guitar. So highest string here, going all the way to lowest string here. That's one way you could tune it, but I don't know. There's different ways of doing it. All right.